There is a moment your dog hesitates for just a second before responding. It might happen when you call them, when you give a command, or when they're about to move toward you. Most people don't notice it because the dog still follows through. But that brief hesitation is where something begins to change. At first, it doesn't look like a problem. Your dog still listens, still comes when called, and still behaves in a way that feels normal. There is no refusal and no obvious resistance. That is why this moment is almost always ignored. But dogs don't hesitate without a reason. Every pause is connected to something they are processing in that moment. And when hesitation appears, it means your dog is no longer reacting automatically. Dogs build their behavior around patterns. They observe your timing, your consistency, and how predictable your actions are. Over time, they form expectations based on what they repeatedly see. Those expectations shape how quickly and confidently they respond. When everything feels consistent, your dog moves instantly. There is no hesitation because there is nothing to question. The response is automatic and fluid. That is what most people interpret as trust. But when something in those patterns begins to shift, even slightly, your dog notices. It might be a change in tone, timing, or clarity. These changes are small, but they repeat. And repetition is what creates impact. That is when hesitation begins to appear. Not as disobedience, but as a checkpoint. Your dog pauses to compare what it expects with what it sees. And that comparison creates the delay. You may notice it when you call your dog. Instead of moving immediately, there is a brief pause. Your dog hears you, understands you, but waits for a moment before acting. That moment is where the shift begins. This is not confusion. Your dog knows what you are asking. What it is doing is deciding how to respond. And that decision is based on what it has been observing over time. At this stage, everything still looks controlled. Your dog still follows commands and stays connected to you. But the process behind that response has changed. It is no longer automatic. Instead of reacting instantly, your dog is now evaluating first. It is adding a layer of thinking before committing to action. That layer may only last a second, but it changes the behavior. And that change is what matters. Most owners miss this stage completely. They wait for something obvious, something they can clearly identify as a problem. But by the time behavior becomes obvious, the shift is already well underway. The hesitation was the first signal. You may also notice your dog watching you more closely. The attention feels sharper and more deliberate. It is not just looking at you, it is studying your behavior. And that shift indicates increased awareness. Your dog is checking for consistency. It is looking for patterns it can rely on. When those patterns feel unclear, hesitation increases. And hesitation becomes part of how your dog responds. If your behavior becomes predictable again, hesitation disappears. Your dog returns to immediate, fluid movement. Everything feels connected again. That is how quickly trust can stabilize. But if inconsistency continues, hesitation becomes more frequent. The pauses become slightly longer and more noticeable. And the responses become less automatic. That is when the change becomes visible. This does not mean your dog is becoming disobedient. It means your dog is becoming more aware. It is paying closer attention to what it is experiencing. And that awareness changes how it behaves. You may begin to see hesitation in different situations. Not just when called, but when asked to follow, move, or respond. Each pause is a signal. Each hesitation is information. The important part is not the hesitation itself. It is what the hesitation represents. It shows that your dog is no longer acting without thinking. It is evaluating before committing. That evaluation creates space between your cue and your dog's response. It may only be a second, but it changes the dynamic. It introduces uncertainty where there was once clarity. And that uncertainty grows over time. Most people only notice when behavior clearly changes. When their dog stops responding the way it used to. But that is not where it starts. It starts here, in that small moment of hesitation. Because once your dog begins to hesitate consistently, it is no longer reacting automatically. It is deciding. And decisions take time. That is why this moment matters more than it seems. It is small, easy to ignore, and easy to dismiss. But it is also the beginning of a shift most owners never see coming.